Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a really important topic that affects so many people: the challenges of delivering affordable housing in major South African cities. The housing will be one of the most urgent social and economic issues in South Africa. 30 years following the abolishment of the apartheid system, urban centers of the country, Johannesburg, Cape Town, Durban, and Pretoria, are still experiencing severe housing deficits which have rendered millions of people to poor or very poor settlements. Urbanization, increase in the demand, and reduction in the supply has been increased by rapid urbanization, income disparity, and cost escalation in construction and land use, and systemic constraints in land use, finance, and governance. The government has achieved some steps forward with the policy like the Reconstruction and Development Program (RDP) and the Breaking New Ground (BNG) program, yet the lack of balance between demand and delivery of housing is growing. Spatial inequality, land scarcity. The only major limitation to affordable housing provision in South African cities is land. The heritage of apartheid spatial planning is still present in the urban geography of South Africa to this day, with well-located land in the areas surrounding economic hubs being rare, costly, and predominantly privately owned, with affordable housing developments usually going to the outer suburbs and distant places. Such spatial segregation supports inequality and the perpetration of the cycle of poverty. Financing and constricted affordability. The second big issue in providing affordable housing is the financial one. Most urban South Africans are what is commonly referred to as the so-called gap market, namely those households that are making too much to be in the fully subsidized RDP housing but too little to obtain mortgage finance. The low-income borrowers still face a risk of not receiving loans, as the commercial banks are risk-averse to lending money to persons with irregular income flows and a lack of collateral. Even though the government initiatives like the Finance-Linked Individual Subsidy Program (FLISIB) were meant to bridge this divide, they have been slow and sluggish in their implementation. Most of these subsidies remain unknown to many of the beneficiaries that are eligible, and the application process is not that straightforward. As a result, housing finance is still concentrated among the more affluent households. Fragmentation of policies and bureaucratic latitude. One of these obstacles that have remained a hindrance in offering shelter in the major cities of South Africa is the issue of bureaucratic inefficiency and lack of coherence in the execution of the policies. The delivery chain of the housing, as the acquisition of the land, the environmental approval, the design, the financing, and the building, comprises many layers of government and regulation. The delay in each stage is prone to poor administrative capacity, overlapping of mandate, or political interference. Construction costs and industry dynamics. South Africa housing issue is majorly related to the construction industry, which experiences a set of structural issues that compromise affordability and efficiency. The prices of construction materials, cement, steel, glass, and timber, have been increasing over the last decade because of the constraint in the supply chain, dependence on imports, and the inflationary pressures. These increased expenditures render it challenging to developers to ensure that the prices remain affordable without affecting the quality. It has been known that small and medium-sized contractors, which are vital in the delivery of housing locally, are frequently denied access to finance and cannot even compete with the large firms in public tenders. Such monopoly of the market restricts innovation and increases cost. Inefficiencies in labor, lack of skills, and industrial strikes increase the delays in projects and include additional expenses. The provision of affordable housing cannot be discussed outside the larger issue of city management and infrastructure. Poor infrastructure, such as roads, water, sanitation, and electricity, is usually a limitation of new residential development in its major cities in South Africa. In the areas where land is not scarce, the lack of mass infrastructure slows the implementation of the project and increases expenses. Local governments are struggling to maintain financial security, with most of them on very slim budgets and heavy debts. The maintenance backlog of infrastructure that is estimated to be over 700 billion in the country diverts the money to be used in new development. In the meantime, due to the unequal ability of local governments to provide services, there is a disproportionate service delivery in certain areas. Social inclusion and the human dimension. The affordable housing problem is about a human problem, a problem of dignity, belonging, and opportunity. Housing is not just a piece of physical building, it is a principle of social stability and economic mobility. However, in most South African metropolitan areas, the design and location of the affordable housing projects still follow the patterns of marginalization. The effect of the peripheral housing relegates a resident in jobs, schools, and health centers, causing social fragmentation. Social cohesion is weakened by the absence of community facilities and community spaces. In addition, the participatory aspect of housing provision is also poor. Residents are seldom engaged in planning and decision-making procedures, thus the developed facilities do not address the needs of residents. Innovation and future resilience in urban housing. With the growth of South African urban areas, the innovations are taking a central place in the resilience of the housing sector in the future. The affordable home design and delivery is being transformed by new technologies, materials, and digital tools. Modular units, 3D printing, and prefabricated materials are part of the alternative building technologies ABMS, which are contributing to lowering costs, cutting construction time, and reducing environmental impact. These inventions render the creation of decent housing in large quantities feasible without reduction in sustainability. Please like, share, and subscribe.